So it's 2 nights after Christmas in Miami. And as an escapee of New York City's horrible firing problem, and the locals who, still live off their parents in the projects, who, like half their siblings are nice, half of them are super evil, and together they form a strong bond to keeping the city together, which is nice, but they don't want anybody that's outside literally their biological family working for them. And so I escaped to Miami, and it's worse in terms of pride in some perspectives, but in other perspectives, it'll pretty much leave you doing this. If you come here after having scammed with no money and after having enough on your credit card to survive, this is what happens to your credit card when you come here. And you're left walking streets like this, And, I remember being in my dad's car thinking that wouldn't it be so horrible to have to walk these sidewalks and end up in this kind of a situation. And as somebody who is now 30 years old, and I've been to many different states, from Minnesota to Virginia to California and Washington, by myself as an adult in my 20s, I can say that this city, although it has a high walkability score, unless you have a car anywhere, there are sidewalks that you can walk. But getting into the homeless shelter, if you were scammed of all your money, is difficult on Christmas holidays for up to almost a week after Christmas itself. So this Christian religion has somehow dominated the brains of the infrastructure of the United States in every single state, to a point where people find excuses to not project safe havens for people for up to a week. Literally, people end up homeless on the street smoking cigarettes to kind of stabilize and satiate their hunger. They're not, I find they ask me for cigarettes often around here, not because they want to be smoking, but because they don't want to be hungry, And so you would think that, it's almost treason, satirically so, in a way, to say that 20 years ago, we lived in a country where homelessness was less of an issue. But it's always really been an issue, because unless you're born into some kind of an entitlement as a negotiator, estrogenal female who's pretty passive, no one's going to be there for you to pay your rent. No one's going to be there for you to, even if you escape to a warm place like Miami, give you a job. People are not very nice no matter where you go. They're going to be nice enough to give you, the interview, but they're not going to be nice enough to hire you, unfortunately, unless for the most part they see some kind of a relation to you. I'm not even talking about phenotypically the person somewhat looks like her sister. I'm just saying that when a security guard doesn't let you into a homeless shelter that you spent 2 hours walking under the hot sun to get to by 3 o'clock, and when you get there at 2:30 and they tell you that they're closed because they're closed and that's why they're closed and no one's going to let you in, and the guards are the same age as you, and they have their fake lashes on, and their lives are kind of they never got hired to be makeup artists. And I never got hired. The reason I say that is because I went through the same thing. These girls and I are reproductively the same size as each other, and I find that this country does not treat women like us well. They really don't care. They don't have safe havens for women who come into this country as, even as 3-year-old immigrants. Like, you're going to struggle, because the way that the United States capitalistic system of checks and balances is created is in which it benefits infants. If you're born in a hospital in the United States, your name automatically becomes a number in the citizen book of laws of whatever. I don't know the correct labeling for these terms, but essentially what I'm saying is that we have a huge upper class, lower class divide, in so much as it's beyond the 25-cent Dollar Tree raise. It's gotten to the point where the poor has become so incredibly poor, in fact, that they don't want to let anyone in. They don't want to let anyone in. They don't have each other's back. They don't have your back here. The girls here are not going to have your back unless you're from the same kind of pride, from the same kind of society. If you identify as, also being, like, they're not going to help you out. And then, on top of that, on top of women being unable to help each other out after COVID and our economy hitting such a dramatically incredible low, how are these people paying for their, they seem to be investing all their money, but is that really their money, or are they scamming people? Like, I got scammed of all my money to the point of nothingness. The only thing I've really been blessed with, besides parents who, generally, they fed me to adulthood, and then that's it. There was just, absolutely, a support system where, you're totally on your own. Like, we did as much as we could until you became an adult, but now you're on your own to the point where, it's your fault if no one wants to hire you for being, slightly more plus size, but because, you're starving, you look more on the thinner side, so become a model, but I'm too short to be a model on the runway, and I had to escape New York. And because of all of these facts, that no one has your back about, women right now are turning to allowing themselves to sleep with rich, old, disgusting men that, we want nothing to do with, literally just to have some food in our pockets. And, these same kind of guys that, think that they can just stick their hands down our pants and say, literally, I just went on a date with a guy that went, but I want some pussy. He didn't buy me food. He didn't buy me anything to drink. Well, he bought me something to drink, but I didn't even want to drink at all because he went straight to touching. And it was such a violation. It was such a violation of, just everything. Your dignity is just gone here. And, no one's going to want to buy your ticket for you to escape. Your ex is not going to want to buy a ticket for you. Because of this whole online dating, people have ultimately lost absolute respect for each other. So any form of escaping, any form of, trying to find a better paradise for you to live in, you can do that. You can eventually find a job. You can eventually, find a reason to keep moving in your life, especially if you're blessed with a nice, wealthy body, where you can walk everywhere, I'm lucky in a lot of ways, but in other ways, it's devastating how, you can come to the United States hoping for a better life for yourself, but find yourself in absolute homelessness because of the physical wealth that you may bring onto this land. And I'm not talking about assets and money management. I'm talking about, it's going to be really hard for people on the physically taller, healthier, longer side to be treated well in the United States. They're treated like, pretty much what I'm saying is that we're treated like shit and left to crappy jobs like, security guard. They don't even really, like, it's going to be really hard for them to hire, girls like us to even be in any kind of like taboo industries that involves quick cash. Like they just, they don't have guys like that here. They don't serve men like that in this country. The men that are born like that are automatically flicked into like basketball or jail for no reason whatsoever. So you can come to Miami, you can search for a better life and find that it's going to take a lot of time. There are no resources here that will be there for you if you escape on the holidays when tickets are cheaper and you don't want to you don't want to max out your whole credit card, on a trip. I got here on Christmas when tickets were cheaper from Orlando, Florida, because Orlando doesn't have surrounding ocean beyond Cocoa Beach. Okay, so if you like the Walt Disney World experience, Orlando is good for you. But if you escape to Miami and find yourself having to walk all the way from Miami Beach, and like I said, if you came here because you were scammed of all your money, you're gonna end up in a loop, in a spiral like me. You're gonna end up in a less perky and hopeful part of the street. You're gonna find yourself in a predicament. But if you are blessed in some kind of a religious cult, whether it be the Episcopalian Church or the Jewish, like Torah reading, uniform wearing regions of New York and the greater west of the United States, it's going to be a lot easier for you because you're going to have people to send your money, you're going to have people to support you, you're going to have a whole calling out there, especially with social media. There are so many ways to get yourself out of a homelessness situation in Miami. But if you're not a longer person, if you're not blessed with, like a gorgeous body, and now I have to run through the track because a train is coming this way. See the train tracks right there. If you're not beyond, like small or middling, if you are small or middling and stay in a big city like this, you're going to have a great advantage because you're not going to have a bad rap for just being there. You're not going to be judged. You're not going to be, you're not going to be seen as a lesser class of an individual to talk to. You're not going to be seen as a hobo. You're not going to be seen as desperate. You're going to be seen as somebody that, escaped to literally like find hotter weather and, has people to support them of like, generally the same stature and size. But if you are a larger individual, and specifically an immigrant under the age of, who got to this country from beyond the age of 3, like I did, even though it was 3 years old, and I'm totally, I like to think that I'm totally integrated into this society. But the fact is that my parents, they don't have the funds. They don't, it's just, Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't go there, and then a tornado hit the state last week, and like half the state is just gone, more than half the state, so it's pretty ironic how, whether or not I'm using gut instinct and intuition to not go there had anything to do with, like the popularity of a city's growth. But I would have liked to go there to be with horses, to be with the nature, but I didn't, and it may have actually saved my life. So being a survivor in this case scenario, is in some ways, beneficial, because you do get to survive. You do get to live in a beautiful part, as much as you have to struggle and like kind of haul your ass in an innocent way to stay alive and, stay out of trouble. Whatever you do, stay away from saying yes to the people that ask you to come to their house or their apartment, because as a female, you don't know where you're gonna end up, and these streets can be really dangerous, and you're not gonna have any kind of backup to help you. So the next time you decide to spend all your money on a ticket to escape, you really should be, I'm not saying like financially prepared. Yes, you should be financially prepared. But beyond that, you should be aware. You should be aware that it's going to be really challenging. It's going to be incredibly challenging. You have to keep your eyes open in this world. Because you are now the outlier. You are now going to stand out. You are now going to be extra in a large city that has a bunch of people that have had access to cars, that have had access to their parents helping them with amenities, and unfortunately we've gotten to a point in our society where, if you stand out as too much of a white sheep even in this society, they're not even going to want to let you into the homeless shelter these days because of this kind of like feeling of urgency in minority-based communities. And that's exactly it, because when they're teaching people, my generation, about what minorities even are, and then you go to a state like this where, what the fuck did you just call me? Don't call me a minority. We're not the minority. You're the minority, So like, be prepared to be the minority, because people who look like me are the minority in a place like this. It's going to be hard to find a job. It's going to be hard to find something that wants your big fat ass there, unless you have some kind of like a special extroverted talent that gives you the key to marketing everything in this country. It's going to be really hard. So yeah, like for the past 3 days I've had to sleep on the streets of Miami Beach in particular. But Miami itself, this is what Miami looks like. It's not Miami Beach, but actual Miami requires a car a little bit. So I'm gonna make my way over to the bridge that splits in half, see if I can take some more pictures of chameleons coming out of the grass and the water and the bushes. And, see you next time. Bye. Have fun surviving. Good luck, 2021 followers. I wish you all, hi, how are you? I wish you all true love and finding your sense of purpose and sharing your personal story of destiny and conquering the challenges of living in a pixelated market. All right? Stay alive. Get yourself something to eat. Try to not be someone who has to be on food stamps. Make sure you're not hungry. Make sure people know that you're a good person. And enjoy staying alive.